One of the most powerful sentences in any courtroom isn't just the verdict, it's the silence that follows it. But what happens when that silence lasts not for seconds but for months, sometimes years? Today, let's talk about something we often whisper about but rarely question out loud. Can judges be held accountable for delayed judgments? Because justice delayed isn't just justice denied, it's often life put on hold. Imagine you're fighting a case for years. You've lost sleep, spent your savings, and every earning ends with the same line: judgment reserved. You go home and wait. Weeks become months. Sometimes, by the time the judgment comes, your life has already changed. You've moved on, but the case lingers like a ghost from a life you once lived. And this makes you wonder, if citizens can be penalized for contempt of court, shouldn't there also be accountability when courts themselves delay justice? Let's be honest, judges carry enormous responsibility. They work under immense pressure, handle mountains of files, and balance life and laws in every word they write. But accountability isn't about blame, it's about fairness. In the case Anil Rai versus State of Bihar, a 2001 case, the Supreme Court of India said something very profound. It recognized that when a judgment is delayed for an unreasonable time after the hearing, it shakes the faith of the people in the judiciary. The courts advised that ideally judgment should be delivered within a reasonable time, preferably not later than 2 months after the conclusion of the arguments. But even after that, many judgments still take longer, and citizens are left asking, where does the accountability begin? Here's the thing, there are no laws in India that directly punishes judges for delay. Judicial officers enjoy a level of protection under the Judges Protection Act of 1985, and for a good reason: to protect their independence. However, that same independence can't mean insulation from responsibility. The Justice C.S. Karnan case reminds us of the fine line between judicial independence and accountability. In fact, he was the first sitting judge of the High Court to be sentenced to jail for contempt. Ironically, for publicly accusing other judges of corruption without proof. That case stirred the question, when can the judiciary discipline its own? Internal mechanisms like the in-house procedure do exist. Complaints about judicial conduct are first examined by senior judges or the Chief Justice. But the process is opaque, closed from public scrutiny, and that lack of transparency often feels like silence is protecting silence. Think of justice system like a river. It flows best when it's steady and clear. But when blockages appear, delays, pending cases, forgotten judgments, it begins to stagnate, and soon the same water that gives life starts to decay. But who clears the river? Is it only the courts, or do we as citizens also share that duty to demand accountability, to strengthen systems, to value efficiency as much as fairness? Let's make this practical. What can actually be done when a judgment is delayed? The first step, write to the High Court Registry. Under Article 227 of the Constitution, High Courts have supervisory control. If a subordinate judge delays judgment beyond a reasonable period, you can bring it to the Chief Justice notice through a formal representation. Step 2. File an RTA application. In some instances, RTA can be used to ask about the status of a reserved judgment, though not its contents. It's not about interfering, it's about information. Step 3. Public accountability movements. Legal think tanks and citizens groups are now pushing for reforms that make judgment timelines a part of their annual judicial performance reports. Transparency, not punishment, could be the path forward. Step 4. Advocate digital case tracking. Many high courts have digital dashboards that show reserved judgments. Use them. The more citizens check, the more visible the delay becomes, and visibility often leads to reform. But here is where I want to pause with you for a moment. The law teaches us something deeply personal here. Delayed action erodes trust. Whether it's a courtroom judgment or a decision in your life, when we keep postponing what must be done, we silently let time make the decision for us. So maybe this isn't just about judges, it's about all of us. We all hold a kind of courtroom inside our minds where we delay our own verdicts. We overthink, we wait for the perfect moment, and in doing so, we sometimes let opportunities slip through. Accountability begins when we stop delaying our own judgments, when we choose clarity over hesitation and action over fear. In 2019, the Supreme Court in the state of Punjab versus Jagdev Singh Talwadi reminded us again that justice delayed weakens the system's moral authority. Every delayed judgment is not just a file pending, it's a story waiting for closure, a life paused mid sentence. So maybe the real question isn't whether judges can be held accountable. It's whether we as a society are ready to redefine what accountability means for those who deliver justice and for ourselves. If this conversation made you think, even for a moment, about how precious time and decisions are, share this video with someone who's been waiting for justice or maybe just waiting for clarity in life. Let's start a dialogue on accountability inside and outside the courtroom. And hey, if you believe in making the law more human, more transparent, and more empathetic, join me by subscribing. Because understanding the law isn't about fear, it's about power. And power, my friends, begins with awareness. Take care. Bye.